Okay, so now we are dealing with a dry surface. Everything's been collaged on. We still have our outlines for our image. And here's the image we're going to be working with. And what I've done is I've taken some golden fluid acrylic. And why fluid acrylic? The viscosity is higher, which means that it will still have a high pigment load, but also it'll be a little bit more fluid, not quite like a watercolor. You see how when I tilt this up, it starts running down. But also the pigment load is not compromised. So I still get a real thin, colorful layer that will dry quickly. And I'm just trying to create a base coating. Very similar to something like this. This is the porcelain that I referenced in the last video. Just a very light coating so that we can tell what's going on. So what I've got here is I've got titanium white, benzimidazoline yellow, quinacridone magenta, and phthalo blue. And I'm just going to kind of follow the image, starting with some of the more obvious work. I'm still using my SilverBrush Silverwhite, just something soft, just so that I can really hold a lot of the pigment, but also capture a lot within the image. And I'm just kind of placing the soft yellow that I see here in the center. Then I'm going to mix up this peach color. A little bit of that magenta goes a long way, right? Pull some of my white in. I want to be real careful because when I start pulling these opaque colors like white in, I get a lot of opacity that could cover the collage elements. As I move over here, the items start getting a little bit more in the magenta family. So I'm just acknowledging that with a little bit more of a rosy color. See a little bit of a darker up here in the corner, so I'm just going to mix a little bit of purple and add some yellow to give that dark green. And you see what I was talking about earlier when I was saying that the colors don't have to be super matchy because once you put this glaze over them, they kind of take their own form. I guess my biggest objective is to get everything concealed because that's when I can kind of tell what still needs to be done. So for example, maybe this color needs to shift a little bit. Right now I'm just trying to block out the colors so I can kind of get a determination of whether or not I need to shift any of the values. Now I'm just going to go for value shifts like up here. See how it's really hard to determine where these little blossoms are occurring. So I'm going to put some dark value to kind of re-emphasize my lines so that I can remember what's dark and what's not. And I think part of my discovery too is just letting go of any attachments to any of the parts. You know, maybe there was some kind of paper or something I put down that I was in love with, but just really knowing that I'm going to kind of force it to the image rather than get attached to something that I put down, because ultimately I want it to still read as whatever it is. And if I try and save or reserve areas, I run the risk of losing comprehension for the image. Maybe that's even a touch darker than I want, but it's okay. Okay, so essentially when I'm looking at this, I've got a nice, good, even tone. All right, and then I'm going to let this dry before I move on to the final phase. Just kind of double checking. Maybe I'll give this a little bit more of a value push down here. Okay, and then I'm going to let this set and dry, and then we'll move on to phase number 3. But notice how a lot of the collage elements are still visible. I can still see a ton of interesting stuff in there. So let's follow up with the third video and see where to go from here.